Thank you guys for tuning in. I have another special guest, Paul Kruger, Super Bowl champ with the Ravens, big-time entrepreneur, family man, and just an awesome dude for you guys. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So I want to get into the whole story of how you got it to where you are now. So what was childhood life like for you, and where did you grow up?
Grew up in Orem, Utah.
Okay. I love Utah, by the way.
Yeah, it's a great state. We spend every summer there. So we're here in Scottsdale for about half the year. Then we go up to Utah for the summers.
Okay.
And
that is Aaron Wagner's story right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's actually how we met. We just have a lot of crossover. I grew up in the area where he spends, where he lives now, and so anyway, awesome guy. But
what part of Utah do you live in now?
So we spend mainly like Park City, Heber City.
Dope.
So more of the ski resorts.
Everything's 20 minutes from each other right there too. So all towns are 20 minutes away.
We're kind of on the opposite side of the mountains from where like Wagner's facility, where I grew up and all that.
What's that little town? Draper's where I stayed at. That's where I got a bunch of buddies at.
Yeah, exactly. So those big mountains that you were up against were literally on the opposite
side. The backside of it, right? Yeah. I know a little bit of Utah. So and I always say this, like I vacation a ton of places. Utah's the only place I go that I'm like, dude, I want to live here.
Yeah. It's been, man, it's the only combative point between my wife and I, and like, I shouldn't even say combative, but it's been the only thing.
I was like, that's a strong word.
We're not like perfectly aligned on it. We're like,
for sure.
But we're both confused. We're like, should we raise our kids in Scottsdale or should we go back to Utah? I mean, they're just both such great places with pros and cons. And so anyway, we're trying to figure it out.
That's a good battle to have though. If that's what your battle is in life, that's a pretty good battle to have.
Yeah, exactly.
So how was a childhood life? Just in sports, any trouble or?
Pretty innocent upbringing. Orem, Utah, it's one of the safest, middle class America. It's very, very, a very good place to grow up. Very innocent, very, very stable. So, had 5 younger brothers and sisters.
Wow.
Big Mormon family.
Okay.
2 parents. But there was things I went through at a young age where I saw my parents struggle financially, and there was some, as I look back on my story and kind of what was driving me all the time, a lot of it had to do with just my perception as a young person. Didn't grow up with money, didn't grow up in need. I was kind of like, hey, free cleats at the high school, and people take care of me sometimes. And
we just shared about the last one. We're like, you live broke, but you didn't know you're broke.
Exactly.
I thought everyone's mom had $60 in her bank account or something like that. You know what I'm saying? You did pinch pennies, and you just thought that's how you grew up.
That's exactly right, and that's exactly how I grew up. Didn't no vacations, no allowances, no, nothing special. But I also had everything I needed. So,
for sure.
An amazing family. Grew up in the LDS church. And so just a lot of good principles, a lot of family value, but there was always this underlying financial stress that I always could feel. And I think later on in life, it really just gave me kind of a drive and a passion to succeed at a higher level.
That's awesome. Were you, how old were you when you started getting big? And then did you know pretty quick that you were going to be a big boy and try and do football?
It's weird. I was a really late bloomer.
Okay.
So I was always like on the cusp of being like one of the bigger guys, but it was more my drive and my personality that kind of set me apart. And then once I got to like junior year of high school, senior year, then I really started to grow and started to like, it was like a baby Great Dane, all of a sudden I could run, it was like, so I was clumsy.
His legs worked.
Yeah. I started to get some athleticism. And so it finally started to feel good. It started to all come together. And that's really when I was, and then even still, I mean, I went on an LDS mission. I look at pictures of like when I left and when I was on my mission, and then when I got back, and I'm like, man, some of my buddies, I'm sure you had friends like this, they look the same like from when they're in high school, like when they're 30 years old.
For sure.
Me, not so much. I look like a different person.
It's so crazy. This was another huge similarity I was going to bring up too. So my fiance's brother, Donovan Hanna, plays football at BYU. And he was out of Arizona and was the top wide receiver and basketball player in the state. Went on his mission, put on 50 pounds, and then came back and played offensive lineman at BYU.
No way.
Yeah, and that's what's yours because you were a quarterback, right?
Crazy.
And then went on your mission and you became a defensive end.
Exactly.
I was like, it's so crazy how the world works when you just let God take over and stuff, because like a lot of the guests I have on here, I usually know them somewhat or know somewhat about their story quite a bit before I just let them get vouched and put on my show. But Clyde or Kyle, however we want to call his name, shout out to him though. But he connected you to me, and then something, it was clearly God just told me to do it. And I'm reading over your bio last night, I'm like, holy shit, how much the similarities that are here now. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's all God's plan.
Man, I can't agree anymore. I mean, honestly, it's like kind of, it's almost like you got to figure out how to set goals, know what you want in life, know that know that you have impact on your own life, know that you can do things to help the outcome be what you want it to be. But at the end of the day, you're really subject to what God will put in front of you, and you got to be willing to, bob and weave with those things.
Yes, for sure. And not give up when stuff gets hard.
Exactly.
So did you know that like football was going to be your way out then, senior high school, or after that when you went to college?
Yeah, I knew that it was the way that I was going to be successful, that I was going to make a difference for my family. I had an extremely powerful desire to just to make a difference for my family. And I knew that football was that outlet. And it's hard because it's funny to look back, because I didn't really understand like the implications of what I was after and how hard it was going to be, and how rewarding it could be. I had no idea, but I just knew that was my path.
I always get fascinated with this. For like Donovan's the same case in you. It's like, granted, from someone like me that lost everything at 18 years old, but it's like you're going to 18 years old, you get out of high school, you're a college recruit, and like, how do you choose to go do your mission? Like, it's like. Yeah. Dude, it's just, I mean, it still baffles me. Like, those are like some of your greatest years. Like I said, although I didn't have mine, it's like, and it's commendable too, that people can like literally give up a couple years of their life, like right when you're getting out and stuff can get good. It's like, what was your mindset there and did you consider not going on your mission and just like trying to take the football thing? It's like, I applaud you for it, but I just want to know your mindset back then.
No, I appreciate it. You'd probably get different answers from different people. But for me, and what I think happens a lot, you grow up in a really strong culture, and God is a part of that. Family's a part of that. Tradition's a part of that. Extended family plays into it. And so it's like holding the line, and for me, as I got of age, I never wanted to go on a mission. Honestly, I really didn't. I never saw myself as a typical Mormon kid. I was always different. I was always more rough around the edges. Mm-hmm. I had my personality, and I wanted to experience more of life, and I wanted to be free to make mistakes and make decisions, and I did. And so as I got older into those years where it kind of approached, I always said, "Nah, that's not my deal." But again, when you're raised a certain way, and when you're in those settings, like when you're raised in I'm sure it's the same with being a strict Jew or whatever it is, Muslim. Mm-hmm. Those traditions and those family values start to really weigh on you. And I think that's why a lot of people go. And then I also think there's the flip. It's kind of a double-sided coin where it's like, you've got God speaking to you. Hey, this is going to be a good thing for your life. You're going to be able to impact others in a really positive way. This is a time for you to forget yourself and serve others. And I felt that, really, but then I also had this, I've got 3 little brothers who are looking up to me. I've got a family to make proud. I've got parents to. And
you probably want to go show off and show them what I can do with football.
Exactly.
But you decide to set that aside.
Exactly. So yeah, there's kind of some different things that are pulling at you, but for me, it was just a decision I felt was right at the time, and I'm glad I went. I really am. For football's sake, yes, I developed a little bit, and you come back and you're a little bit more of a man than you were before, but unless you're playing at a high level, it sets you back in years, and it's hard to bounce back from that. So
for sure, I'd imagine.
Luckily for me, I was on a great team, and I was good enough to leave school early. So I left after my redshirt sophomore year, and so I was still the same age as a rookie as somebody who played their whole college career. So
yeah, you left college that early?
Yeah.
No way, and went to the NFL?
Yeah, drafted by the Ravens, and I was just extremely grateful that I could get out early. Yeah.
Okay, so let me get your mindset after your mission. What did your mission, and I'm not talking like religion with that stuff, like what did the mission teach you, and what's your mindset when you're coming back from the mission?
The mindset was I was back to being selfish. Like your whole life, you're thinking about what you can do, your friends, your parties, your, whatever. Your mission, really, you get out of that mindset. And so as I came back, that selfish ego started to come back in. I'm like, man, I'm so excited to be back so I can, I can
do this,
chase girls. I can go play football. I can be a part of things. I can I can live life, And so that portion of my personality came back really strong.
I always get fascinated too. Like, what is going through your mind when you know, like, you're going to make it to the NFL and then, like, the end of your college career, like, let me take you down that path. And then are you still just, like, thinking, like, I'm going to take this football thing forever and this is going to change my family's tree finally?
Yeah.
Are you thinking you're the dude? You're the one that my guy talks about?
Yeah,
I'm the one?
Yeah, I'm the one. There's always one. I'm the one. And it's weird because as I look back at certain points, like, there was times when I wasn't good enough to really have that mentality, but I still had it. You know, it was like this inflated confidence that just somehow, you know, I think a little bit I was born with, and then sometimes, you know, there's triggers in your life that, you know, I'm sure for you, you know, going through some of the hard times you did, you know, it triggers this thing in your brain. It's just like, man, I'm going to be great. I can't waste a day. And I'm here with a purpose. And for me, that was kind of like, I had a couple near-death experiences that really, you know, one when I was 13, I basically was in a Jeep rollover. The Jeep rolled over my body. I lost a kidney, a spleen.
Ouch, no way.
Yeah, I was in the hospital for, you know, had to learn how to walk again. I'm in the hospital for a month. Yeah, it's crazy. And then in college at the University of Utah, I was in a street fight and was stabbed a couple times. And,
no way.
Yeah. So
street fights in Utah with stabbings?
Man, it's rough in the streets.
I didn't know they had knives out there besides just to cut meat with.
Yeah, seriously, man. Yeah, you'd never think, and I never would have thought. I mean, I never saw any of that type of violence growing up. I mean, you heard about it on the news.
Yeah.
But never in a million years would
you never know until it happens to you or someone you know.
Exactly. So here I am in a basic street fight. You know, it's kind of a brawl, a bunch of guys going, and you know, I was
always getting wrangled in because you're the big one too, right?
Exactly.
Like, Paul, you with us?
That's exactly what happened. So I'm on top of a dude, smacking him around, and it felt like I got hit with a sledgehammer in the ribs. I'm like, that was different.
That was different than a punch.
That was different than a punch. I stood up and I could feel something. I put my hand under my shirt. I could feel a little golf ball size of my intestines coming out of my side.
Stop.
I was like, no fucking way. I got stabbed. Like, going through your mind, it's like, this is insane. I started screaming and yelling at everybody because, you know, my brother's out there, my sister's somewhere. I'm like, and I got buddies, you know, teammates. And so I'm worried that people are going to be getting stabbed. And
sure.
So they just try to kill me. You know, they're going to be trying to kill other people. So
for sure.
So anyway, it was wild. But, you know, the point really is that some people just wake up and get it. And for me, it wasn't like that. But it triggered in my brain at a young age because I realized that life is finite and that any day it can change. And so to get the most out of life and to get what you want, you've got to fight tooth and nail, and you got to be different, and you got to be willing to work and fight for it. And so anyway, that really set the tone for kind of my mentality. And as I started to go through college and then get into the pros, it just never changed. It was always, I'm here to win. I'm here to succeed. I'm here to dominate. I'm here to take positions from people.
Yeah.
And it just never changed.
Did that teach you a little bit? Like because I always use these comparisons, like all the stuff I've been through, like after you've been stabbed and almost died twice, did it like add to your confidence? Like, dude, I can achieve anything now because I already got stabbed and I lived.
Yeah, it's weird. It does.
Gives you a little bit more to your ego, right?
It does. It adds to it for sure. Like at the time, you're knocked down so, you know, here I am here you know, I'm 22 years old, feel like a freaking Superman.
Animal.
And now I'm in a hospital bed and, you know, they're telling me I'm never going to play again. They're, you know, I got people coming to visit me crying and, you know, it's just like, it's the weight of it's just like, man, this really just changed my life. Mm-hmm. Like I could have easily died. Like I went to sleep for surgery and I could have literally never woken up.
For sure.
And so it kind of hits you like a ton of bricks. Like, man, you know, life can be taken and life can be changed overnight. But then as you recover and as you bounce back, you're absolutely right. It's like, man, I'm here to win.
I got this.
Yeah, like you can't do anything.
Yep. And that's why I always tell people that's why they got to get that mindset.
Yeah.
Let me hear how draft's going. So I always get fascinated with people that get drafted. What round were you drafted in, and what goes through your mind when you finally make it drafted in the NFL?
Yeah. Second round draft pick.
Okay.
And you know, you're kind of working through your agent. You know, you're communicating with teams a little bit at the combine. And that's a pretty intense environment because coming from University of Utah, it's not as if there was like a whole team full of guys, especially when I went there, more so now, but it you know, there was 2 or 3 of us that were going to be drafted. And so I wasn't around, like 50 guys all the time. We're going to be in the NFL. Yeah. So as I went to the combine, I went to train and all these things, I'm in these different environments where I'm like, this is what it looks like. These are the guys.
Oh shit, these dudes are real.
Yeah, these dudes are real. Like they're all big and fast and strong, just like me, And so, and then your agent's kind of giving you, and it took a lot of convincing from my agent at the time to get me out of school because he's like, you're going to be a top pick. You're already 22 years old. You need to leave school. And I'm just like, man, this is crazy. Like I never would have thought to leave school after just 2 years.
Yeah.
But as I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, but because of my mission, I don't want to be 25 years old or 24 years old when I get in the league.
Yeah.
So I started to take it more seriously. And then as time went on, I was able just to kind of, use him as sort of a go-between and try to figure out where I would land and all that kind of stuff. And, and then on draft day, it's like, man, you're sitting on pins and needles just waiting around.
What did you guys hope and think you were going to get projected at?
He kind of put me like in middle of the first round to bottom of the second round. Okay. That was kind of the window. And I was like, I'd be happy with any of it.
For sure.
And there was a couple of guys that were drafted in the first round at my position that, they didn't even last a couple of years in the league. And so you're watching, I'm like, man, come on.
Dude, I would say this. Here's the deal. I think baseball or golf is the toughest sports to go pro in, but like football is the toughest one to keep getting contracts.
To stay in.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you see, dudes win the Super Bowl and be out of the NFL the next year.
I know.
Like Dan Buchanan, the same way. I always use him as an analogy. It's like all those dudes, like football players, it's like, you get that contract, and it's rare they're getting second contracts in the NFL. Yeah. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Sport is not like that.
Yeah, it's a really tough environment in so many ways. It's just mentally, physically, it's just draining, and it takes a lot.
And I talked to and mentor kind of a lot of ex-NFL players, that like thought that those contracts were going to all keep coming. So they weren't the best with their money and they blew through all their money. Now it's like, holy shit, I didn't get in the contract. I don't have any money. Now what the hell am I going to do?
I know.
It clearly seemed like you were pretty smart with some of your money there. And do you think that your upbringing and going on the mission helped with that? And were you, not to send you so many questions, but were you married at the time too and with your significant other through the missionary?
So the answer is yes. The mission helped. The upbringing helps. There's no doubt about that. Having a foundation of good decisions, of family environment. You don't realize how much that can affect a person until you see the flip side of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I'm so blessed to be able to grow up with a good family, with good parents, because there's just nothing that can replace that. I don't care if it's money. I don't care what it is. There's nothing that can replace good teaching and love and safe, environment and time and energy put into the children. My dad coached all my teams until I got into high school. He did that for all my brothers. So anyway, yes, the answer is 100% yes. That's actually one of my passions since I've been done playing is slowly becoming like, man, if so many of these guys are making bad decisions and making mistakes along the way, and then by the time they're done, there's nowhere to go, and there's no value that's been built for their next life, and so for me it was like you kind of there's certain decisions and certain ways that you maybe get lucky or whatever, but I was able to maintain wealth and continue to build that while I was playing. I met my wife when I was in Cleveland, my second contract.
Okay.
And
how long did you play in the NFL?
I played for 8 years.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. One of the rare ones that got a couple contracts.
Yeah, man, got 3 contracts, and yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. It changed my life forever, and it was exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to play forever. I stopped playing when I knew that I was financially stable. I probably could have played for 12, 14, 15 years,
really?
But yeah, I was done. And I wanted to be a businessman. I wanted to be a family man. And
I always say this when I walked away from my job, like it was just like a God thing. Like literally weekend, I was just like, dude, I'm out on this job. I'm going to go try and figure something out. Was it like that? Or did you have like a whole plan in place? And then right when you quit, did you know what you were going to do? Or you just like wanted to take some time off?
I had finished out a season with New Orleans, and I was talking to my agent, and it kind of got, I started to become just worn out by it, and it wasn't challenging me mentally. It's challenging me physically for sure. Cause as I was getting older, I was starting to hit the point where it's like, all right, I gotta change the way I eat. I gotta change the way I train. To keep up, I really need to figure this out in a different way. And I was still playing at a high level. but really, I hate to say this because I'm not blaming her, but when I got married, it really changed my perspective. I wanted to be with my wife. And I had never felt like that before. I'm like, man, I'm more excited to go home than
It's nice when you have a partner that's like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
For real. And
Yeah.
you know what's crazy? That's what everybody strives for. Like all the dudes that like want to pull chicks and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
like, they all just want you just want the one woman at home that you don't want to think about the other thing or look at the other women. It's like when you have that, and until then it's like people are just easily satisfied with the other temptations that they think are irresistible. But like everybody wants the solid foundation at home. You know what I mean?
Man, that's exactly. I always knew that I wanted to be a family man. I want to have kids. I wanted to be married. But I was in this environment where it was just hard to see through all the
Yeah, that's
bullshit.
a big question.
Yeah.
How did you resist all the temptations being in the league like that? Because I know what goes on with those.
For sure. No, a
And
lot.
you're a stud too, bro. I'm sure you probably have people throwing themselves at you.
Hey, likewise, bro.
Yeah,
you know what? It's just one of those things. Like you make mistakes. You learn how to navigate those environments. I had a great time. I went out all the time with the guys. Partied, enjoyed life. So I wasn't. It's not like I avoided all that stuff, but you hope to basically grow from some of those times. And it was also, I think there's certain personality types that need to get things out of their system. And I'm not saying you should go out and be a reckless idiot, but I think that there's, for me, it was like, because of my upbringing and then the mission and then it was just like, man, I need this time to go see what the world's all about, and you learn some good things and some bad things and you figure it out. But man, the most depressed time I've ever had in my life was probably my fourth, fifth, and sixth year, maybe my fourth and fifth year. And I was just like, I was just ready. And I think internally I was just ready to have more purpose. For a long time, I was like, I'm back from my mission. I was serving people for 2 years. I've always been a family guy. And then I went through this stretch where I was just like, man, I want to make money. I want to play. I'm going out with the guys. It was all me. And I started to wear me down. And I got in this weird place where I'm just like, man, I'm not living the life that God wants me to live. I'm not being the man that I was destined to be. And as soon as that thought started to really be a constant, I started basically asking God's help to find a wife and find a family and all that kind of stuff. And just in the way that it happened was just an amazing thing. And so, I met my wife. We've been married for 7 years now, going on 8. And just super happy, man. She's my angel.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right, going to the end of your career, what is your mindset leaving the NFL? It's done, and are you just going to, like I said, take some time off, or do you have business plans or what? Yeah,
so I basically said, I'm done. I'm gonna figure out where to live. That was a big thing for us.
Okay, you were finishing up where?
With New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my last year there. And I started.
What brought you out here to Arizona too?
That was kind of the thing. We're like, we weren't really ready for Utah. My wife's not LDS.
Okay.
And it was just a unique environment for her. We were spending time in Park City and some of that stuff. So it wasn't really the LDS thing, but it was like a combination between like, a small mountain town and then anywhere outside of that's kind of the LDS culture that she wasn't used to. And so there was kind of some different things that were like, she was starting to get comfortable with, but wasn't totally ready. And I was like, let's go figure out a place.
Yeah.
And I heard so many of my buddies came down here and so many guys that I used to play with came down here. And so we decided to come down here to Scottsdale and rent a house. And man, by the second month, we were looking for a house.
So what was your mission when you got out of the NFL then? Let's get into that.
Creating value for myself,
okay.
Because I knew that was going to be kind of the hurdle as coming out of the NFL. There's a huge stigma about guys, making bad mistakes, going bankrupt, losing all their money.
For sure.
And so I was just on a mission to make sure that didn't happen. And so I started investing in real estate. I started investing in, small businesses and just finding ways to create residual income. And there's been a few guys that along the way, have kind of mentored me and as far as, business goes. And a lot of it from them was, hey, you used to have the check coming in, you don't anymore. So you got to find ways to supplement that. So a lot of it's been finding real estate, developing it, or finding investment real estate where I'm making residual income. So that it's just been Real estate has been kind of the foundational piece, and then since then it's branched into franchise businesses and just different opportunities that have kind of created.
How do you learn this stuff? Like, how do you start learning the real estate stuff for people that just want to get in there or make a change for themselves?
There's a few ways. I think number one, you got to. For me, I'm not a guy that's going to be sitting in a class learning how to do it for months on end before I go dabble in it. So it was networking through brokers, finding opportunities to invest with people, and then learning as much as I could along the way. So I would like for instance, the first deal that I did, I kind of fell into. I found this piece of property that I actually wanted to build on, and it was a big ranch actually in Utah. And I'm like, I was doing this while I was playing. I'm like, man, when I'm done playing, I want to live on this ranch.
Go chill out there.
Well, my wife had something to say about that, so I just feel like, well, maybe later.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I can't have all this money sitting in this land. So what can I do with it? Well, let's put a road in. Let's chop it up and sell parcels and just make it more valuable, right? So I started doing that. Put the infrastructure in, put the roading in. Had to learn how to work through engineers and the city and the county and.
And how are you learning all this stuff too? Because I tell people, like, you can Google, you can get anything
Totally.
you want in the world out here. So how are you learning this?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it was a combination of just simple ways like getting online and figuring it out.
How to do what?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Or it's just asking questions like, well, how can I sell this in different pieces? Well, yeah, but you have to have them entitled. All right, well, what do I need to do to entitle it? Well, you got to put some roads in and curb and gutter, and you got to have water going to each one, and you got to have sewer set up and all that kind of stuff. And so as you start to just kind of figure it out, like, how do I make money? All right, well, here are the steps. Here's the sheet you got to fill out. Here's the county you got to go to. So that's how I kind of fell into it. And then I made a lot of money on that piece.
And you're like, oh, this is something I could do now.
Like, wait a second. I just made, over $1 million just flipping this piece of dirt. And then it started to kind of get my brain working. Like, how do you do this? Like, okay, this is how guys do it. They buy the land, then they do it. Some guys just do the horizontal stuff and then they'll flip that. Well, some guys will buy it, do all the horizontal, and then they'll build a building and then flip it. And then some guys will do all that and then put a lease in place and then turn it on an investment, right? So you're selling it to investment people who want to buy it for cash flow.
Yeah.
And the multiple on those is a lot higher than the multiple on entitled ground or whatever. So a lot of it was just basically trial and error, learning through commercial brokers, and then finding people that I could trust to either invest money with or to bounce questions off. And then just, you really, at the end of the day though, and this is what, one of the things I want to start doing is kind of coaching NFL guys, both current and former and whatever future, is how to do this stuff. And because the biggest thing for me was basically having people to ask questions. But at the end of the day, you have to be the guy that's going out there. You got to go look at it. You got to be responsible for your money, for your investment. The problem with NFL players in general, and I think probably more sports than just that, is that they're just used to passing everything that takes real responsibility. They're used to passing it off.
Dude, I'm the same with the shot caller. Like, you don't notice this, like, but when you run a prison yard, like, like someone makes my coffee, like does my laundry, makes my bed for me. So it's like, and I get out here and I start doing the same thing. I get a girlfriend, just move around, like, I'll pay all the bills, you just do my laundry, cook, and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then I was out here for like 5 years and I just still didn't know how to do anything.
Right.
Because I just been delegating everything, like I was still in prison. So then like I made a rule, like, I'm not going to do that. Now I got to figure stuff out. And I like, whether it's Google or something like that, you can type in how to do so-and-so all the time. And like, that is like a go-to thing for me.
Totally.
Because like, yeah, it's the same thing for NFL guys. You can just delegate stuff and you don't realize you don't know how to do shit. And you guys are you're almost 30 years old and you haven't done anything.
Exactly. And that's the problem that I see with a lot of guys. It's like, you want to make money and you want to be able to build your next career, but you haven't developed any skills to be able to protect yourself against either people that don't have your best intentions, or just the skill to be able to go and
or they're having the guy do all the legwork for him, and then what if this guy just goes MIA one day? Then what? You don't know anything about what he's been doing. You have no idea where you're going. You didn't have your hands on it yourself.
Then you got to hire attorneys. You got to somebody's got to get involved. Then you're paying people, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, I lost a lot. You can lose a lot of money doing real estate if you do it in the wrong way or you're not responsible.
For sure.
And so yeah, I think it's a need, and it's something I'm pretty excited about.
What other big goals you got coming up?
I have a franchise company called By the Bucket.
Okay.
And that is really ready to like explode. It's a super simple franchise that basically has been proven over the last couple of years. So it's basically it's a QSR. It's basically spaghetti, meatballs, bread, marinara sauce, and then a couple subs and just some really simple limited menu. But it's good family food that can feed an entire family for, probably around $25 to $30. And so, it's cool it really is like a value to see people come in and like, have quality food for not super expensive. And it's big portions, and it's just a fun environment.
That's another thing. How'd you get into that?
Again, I was looking for ways to create residual income.
Okay.
And I started buying these stores and like just seeing the process. I'm like, man, this really works. Like it was a big risk for me. It was the first time I really got outside of my wheelhouse with real estate. And, but just seeing these things open up and people come in, and all of a sudden you got a guy down the street that owns the car dealership, and now he's taking food to his employees. And, it's just all these, you become a part of the community with a business like this. And, it's pretty cool. So I'm really hoping to just grow the portfolio with that stuff and get people.
It looks
involved.
like it paid off well for you. Like I said, you don't get anywhere unless you take a chance.
You don't. You don't.
I always get into this too, locker room stuff. Who's the baddest dude?
The baddest dude. I mean, I played with
Did you play with Ray Lewis?
Yeah, I played with Ray Lewis for 4 years.
Shit.
Yeah.
How was he?
Ray is electrifying. He really is. I mean, a lot of stuff.
It just clicked right there. I was like, holy shit, you played with Ray Lewis.
Yeah. But that team was full of freaking studs.
You guys had Bolden too then?
Yeah, we had Bolden, Ed Reed, Suggs,
Ed Reed.
Nada.
Damn, Suggs too.
We had
Holy shit, Bodie, Nada.
Yeah, we had a team just full of total.
Who was the alpha male in that locker room then on defense?
I mean, Ray had the crown.
Ray, right?
Yeah, I mean, Ray was not only was he obviously probably the best linebacker ever to play the game, but also the leadership skills, the time that he had under his belt. I mean, the guy was just very unique, such a good leader. We still talk once in a while, and I love the guy. I really do. He's the type of person that doesn't just stand out for himself. He doesn't just do things for himself. He really had a purpose in everything that he did. He wanted the championship so bad, like it wasn't about money to him, really. Yeah. I mean, and I know it sounds crazy, but you could really feel it. And I was playing for money. I wanted the contract. Sure. I wasn't a first round pick. I wasn't, I'm like, man, I'm here to, and then Ray sucks you into like actually believing in something. And it's like
for more than just the pick.
Yeah. And you start thinking like that.
That's how important leaders are though.
Exactly. So the guy taught me more about being a leader than anybody I've been around. Him and Urban Meyer probably were the two most impactful. Yeah. And I only played for him for a year. But Urban just had a unique style and approach to the game. And as a young person, I think he's, especially in college, his style was totally what I needed. And so between those two guys, I just felt like
How was Ed Reed in the locker room? Was he quiet?
He's not quiet, but Ed is, he has a lightness to him and he's got like this old funny grandpa type of feel.
He just, that's what I'm saying. He seems like just a quiet OG. That's like the vibe I get from him.
Total OG.
Yeah.
But Ed also is one of the more competitive, like crazy on the field dudes that he'll make plays and stuff that you're just like, yeah. And he does it at critical points. So there's this, Ed just has this switch where, I saw him fire up like, Ray was like always intense. Ed had these times where you'd see the fire come out and it's like, wow, that's what makes Ed so good, is that he can play relaxed and loose. And then there's certain periods and certain games just at the perfect time where he just becomes electrifying.
Toughest dude on offense?
On our team or just in general?
No, like that you're playing against.
I think for some reason, AP.
I was going to say it was Adrian Peterson.
I hit him a couple times. Or should I say he hit me? It was like
tell me about it. Because I've heard stories about it.
Just like I'd come off, I'd shed a block and come off and hit and tackle this guy, and it was like trying to tackle a bowling ball moving really fast. I mean, it's like I don't know. It's almost hard to describe, but just the way his running style, it was like violent.
So violent, yeah.
So violent. Like
I feel like he was the only violent runner in the NFL when he was there. Like he just could just run through anybody and was so fast. Dude, I remember I'd watch him in Prison Visitation because they used to have the NFL games on there, and I'm like, Dude, he broke another one. Oh my God, he broke another one. And it's
just the way he would just, his style was just so violent. He didn't slow down for anything. Like a lot of these running backs, like they'll see you, that you shed, and they'll make a cut, or they'll slow down a little bit. It's just like it's like teeny little half a step, but it's just enough to where the impact isn't as violent.
Yeah.
There was none of that with AP. It was like full speed, head down, knees high, like everything was just like, and he's trying to hurt you.
Yeah, trying to literally run through you.
Yeah.
God, that's crazy. I love Adrian Peterson's stories for some reason.
Yeah.
My brother grew up a huge Vikings fan, though, so he's like a diehard Adrian Peterson fan.
Yeah, he's a beast. So there's a couple environments where the spotlight felt really big.
Yeah, and
playing the Patriots and a couple playoff games and stuff like that was huge. Like feeling the the crowd spirit, and just like in here, man, the lights are brighter for some reason in certain stadiums, and playing against Tom Brady, he had that presence for sure. And then AP, man, he had an element of that maybe wasn't represented in their schedule or their success or whatever, but he brought that type of presence.
Dude, I mean, that year he was on the Vikings and rushed for almost 2,000 yards. Like they didn't have a single player on that team, if you ask me. They're just handing the ball every time, 30 times a game, and he was just breaking them, bro. 8 or 9 dudes up in the box, and AP's gone.
Yeah, he's a machine.
What keeps you going today? And then I wanted to get a tougher question, like, what do you want to be known for, and like, what do you want your legacy to be, say 10 or 20 years from now?
Yeah. I think what keeps driving me is really, I would say it's two things. Number one, I want total freedom. So, and that takes a lot of money. So I want total freedom, and I want the ability to impact others so that they can have freedom. And so I want to create a corporation. I want to create successful companies and massive amounts of productivity, so that you can experience the most out of life, and that you can give your family the most that life has to offer, and people that you work with can give their families the most that life has to offer. And I think what drives me and what really kind of sets my sights is twofold. So I have 3 little baby girls, 5, 3, and almost 3 months. Awesome. And man, it's just between my wife and those little girls, it's just like, how can I not reach for the stars? How can I not be a protector? How can I not be the ultimate provider? How could I put myself in a position where I can't give my girls anything at any time that they could possibly need? I got to be there for them for when they get married, or when they go to college, or when they have a baby, or anything. And it's like, for me, that always wasn't what drove me, but now it's like a huge part of my thought process is how do I give the most I can to my family, and how do I get the most out of life in a way to where I can pass it down.
I love that you say that about the money too, and it's like, you don't want to make the money to make you happy. You make the money for freedom. You know what I'm saying? Because money doesn't make you happy. Money is cool to buy things or something like that, but it doesn't give you happiness. There's a bunch of trillionaires that are miserable,
Totally.
but the money does give you freedom. And if you're doing the right thing, money makes it easy to help people,
Totally.
I always say, like, you can't have no money and help people, So like, that's all that the money did for me, is made it okay for me to help people. And for me, the money validated my story. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have the story if I don't come out of prison and become successful.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, but people always look at the money for the wrong thing. And I feel like that's why when they chase the money, that's why they never get it, because they're trying to chase the money for the wrong reason.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, you're absolutely right. And you have to do it for the right reasons. You have to do it in the right way. I mean, to me, I'd rather not make it in a deal than either do it with somebody that I don't like or trust or believe in or whatever, or that I think has a negative intention.
Yeah.
And I also, I also think that it is how we keep score, and it's how we, and it is fun to be in successful environments. But yeah, I just think it's, at the end of the day, it's about what it allows you to do. That's the world we live in. You have to have resources to be able to live life fully. And so I just think you can do the most good for the most people, and especially for your own life, the more successful you are financially.
Dude, I love it, man. And I just appreciate you being here, dude. What a cool story you have, man. I'm super glad that we got to meet you. Shout out to Clyde again for this.
Kyle, Appreciate
Kyle,
it.
Clyde, whatever you want to call him. He's got a
No,
few
I'm
different
saying that's
nicknames.
what I call him. So Kyle, thanks
Yeah,
for the
he
hookup,
said it
brother.
right. Make sure you guys subscribe, download the podcast, and then also tell them where to find you on your Instagram and social media stuff.
Yeah, so it's just Paul Kruger _99.
It'll be a big ass wiper that looks like a model.
Does it? Love it, bro.
So thank you guys for tuning in. Have an awesome week.
Hey, appreciate you
being
having
here,
me, man. Thank you.